Buck, good morning. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. So, how common is it? And I don't know what the actual technical term is. Is this gender reassignment? Is this transgender? Whatever you do to turn into the opposite sex? Is it more common for men to turn into women than women to turn into men?
Well, it's just more common. You see it on the internet or on TV or whatever. But it's very common for a woman to turn into a man. It's just not, and it's also because you sort of go into the world easier. Not easier, but people look at you when you have a mustache as a man. But it's much, I think, a little bit more difficult sometimes for a man to kind of become a woman and be in society that way.
I'm looking at photos of you. That we just had one up. You would not know the first photo that was up on RMG TV. You would not know that was a woman. I mean, seriously. I mean, this guy is ripped and tattooed and bald headed.
Great facial hair.
Looks just like my producer, Rob. I'm serious.
Yeah.
All right. So, how old were you when you determined in your mind that because you were born a girl. How old were you when you determined in your mind, this is not right?
Well, I could say I always felt like a boy constantly, like my whole childhood. But then what happened was, puberty hits. And I hit puberty at a late age, maybe 15 or 16. That's when I knew, like, wait a minute, I'm growing breasts and I'm getting the things that girls get. And that's when things really, I knew that I was totally basically in the wrong body. That was it for me.
Tell me about your childhood. I mean, when you were young, you were sort of masculine as a girl, and then like you said, when you hit puberty, things really got wacky for you.
Right.
But how did other people? Did you live life as a boy, or did you just act? No. So everyone knew you were a girl, but you were like a tomboy.
I was a total tomboy, exactly. And it's funny, no one really questioned that until I started growing breasts and until I started getting the feminization. You know what I mean? And then before that, even my parents pretty much were cool with me being, a little buck, and it wasn't ever an issue. But even as a 15-year-old girl, I wasn't really hanging out with the other girls. I was hanging out with young boys, playing cars and skateboarding and doing all those things, which a 15-year-old girl does not do.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you were a tomboy, your parents treated you they were fine with it. Now, when you hit puberty then and you start growing the boobs, what happens? Do your parents say, hey, knock it off with this tomboy stuff. You're now turning into a woman. You're a girl now. Or what was their reaction?
Exactly. My parents' friends said you need to stop treating your daughter like a boy, like your son. And I think my parents really got a little bit upset by the whole thing, and they didn't really know how to deal with it because I was always a boy. My parents were really, really awesome until that happened. And then that's when pretty much even, the dynamics between my parents changed because everyone was like, well, wait a minute. We thought he was a boy and now, he's a girl. And there wasn't any, I'm 51 years old. There was no internet. There was not things happening. So people didn't really have the help they have today.
So you think that your parents were fine with it, but then when they sort of got the impression that it was weird or other people started questioning them about it, they became embarrassed by this or self-conscious
everything. And then they started, calling me by the girl name, and then, just the dynamics between the family started getting rough. And that's when basically all hell broke loose in the family and with me and everybody.
And when you say all hell broke loose, what do you mean by that?
Drugs and alcohol, started to be suicidal. I had suicide attempts. I would take razor blades and cut myself.
My God.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible, horrible life. I had a horrible life.
Do you think that all of that stems from you being born a female but believing that you should be a male? Is that why
100%.
all of that? So 100% of your drug problems and slashing or whatever, you're cutting yourself, all of that was caused by this gender thing.
100% I believe that. I think that if I would have just been able to, I have to tell you though, I really think that I am able to be, I am the way I am today because my parents did let me be masculine and a boy when I was younger. I do think that. I think that because the way people are so anti letting kids be however they need to be, it forces you to be a certain way, which then forces you to have all kinds of negative feelings about yourself. So for sure, I think that my parents doing that was awesome. It's just society told them that that's your daughter, it's not your son, and then everyone freaked out.
What kind of drugs did you get into, Buck?
Oh my God. I was a hardcore cokehead, and then I became a really bad crackhead, and then I became really homeless.
Wow.
So that all stemmed from my transsexualism completely, totally. I believe that if I would have just been a guy, I don't think I would have had all those things happen to me because I hated myself. I really, really hated myself.
Were you during this period of time? So how old were you? Like when you start with the coke, and then you do the crack, and then you end up homeless. How old are you?
16. Well, I started 16 doing drugs and alcohol, and then I became homeless at like 22, 23, something like that.
Did your parents kick you out of the house at some point?
Yep, my parents kicked me out at 18. Like I didn't graduate high school, but then I wasn't going to school, and I was just like, what? And they're like, get out. My parents totally kicked me out of the house.
During this period of time, so you're still a woman. You haven't done any testosterone or anything at this point. What about sex? Are you having sex with other women, guys? You doing anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, when I started to have sex, which was late, I'm 22, 23 is when I really started to kind of do that. Even though I had sex with a girlfriend in high school, I was attracted to girls, but I would consider myself a boy for sure. It wasn't like I was attracted as a woman. That was also very difficult, my sexuality. But that said, I didn't really start to have sex until like in my 20s. And then I was always drunk and wasted. I never had sex sober. I always had to be drunk and wasted because I didn't want them to see me as a woman, and I didn't feel comfortable. I wouldn't even take my clothes off during sex.
So when you did have sex, you would have sex with men, though?
No, only women.
Oh, only women. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
Only women. Only women. I didn't start having sex. I have sex with men now, but only now as a man. I didn't feel comfortable having sex as a woman.
Now, do you think, okay, so is that only, you have sex with men now, is that only because of your porno career, or would you do that in your own personal
No, I do it in my personal life, too. I think that I'm attracted to men and women for sure. I don't think that. And that came through becoming a man, which is really interesting. I think because I really became comfortable with my body and who I am, and my sexuality just sort of exploded. And I started, for so many years I had to hide myself and not be comfortable. For me, it's not that I feel bisexual. I just feel attracted. I know it sounds really corny, but like to people and to that kind of thing. It's not necessarily gender for me.
I'm looking at another photo of you on RMG TV. They're playing photos of you and stuff. This looks to be you.
Oh my God.
As a woman. I mean, I don't know if Anthony can go back to that one. Hang on. You have sort of whitish hair and.
You're beautiful.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm really, I'm sort of getting like freaked out here because I'm like, wow, that chick's pretty hot. And then I see the next one, it's you with a beard, and I go, whoa.
I'm not gay. That's not gay.
Exactly, right. I mean, I'm freaking myself out here.
No, but he's beautiful as a man, and you're beautiful as a woman.
Wow.
Like, that's so crazy.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right, so.
Wow.
So, all right,
the women pictures always do that to everybody, the women pictures. Because they're modeling pictures, so it's not like I walked around looking like that. They're actually really modeling pictures. So it totally, it's crazy. You can see me now and before. I didn't necessarily look that way all the time. So
you end up homeless, like you said, at 22. How then do you end up transitioning? Buck Angel is on with us, by the way, and he has a documentary about his life called Mr. Angel. You can watch this on Netflix, which Netflix has really been, for documentaries, it's really revived documentaries, I think, because everyone will watch them on Netflix, because a lot of times on Netflix, you can't get the latest movies. You've seen everything. You go, let me check out this documentary. And many of them are very interesting. I haven't seen this documentary yet, but you can get more info on MrAngelMovie.com. That's MrAngelMovie.com. So you're homeless at the age of 22 after this drug, alcohol, all these problems. Still a woman.
Yeah.
When and how do you start transitioning to a man?
Right. It's a great question. So at 22, I was homeless. Then I got, signed with this modeling agency. Then I went around Europe and party. All this time, though, I was still on drugs and alcohol. And then, I just, for years, then I became homeless again at 28 when the modeling industry basically kicked me out. So I'm in Hollywood, West Hollywood, California, and I just realized I was about to die. I just knew it. And then I called a best friend of mine, and she got me into rehab, and I got sober. I've been pretty much sober from drugs and alcohol for 22 years now. And then I went to a therapist, and she helped me figure out how to have a sex change in a sense. They don't call it sex changes anymore. They call it gender reassignment now. But back when I did it 21 years ago, it was called a sex change.
Why don't they call it sex change anymore?
Because sex is different than gender. So calling it a sex change, it's not my sex that changed. It's my gender that changed, right? So sex is sexuality, somebody who you're attracted to, men or women. But gender is, how you present to the world as male or female.
You always have to keep up on the latest politically correct terminology, lest you offend someone. So something tells me Buck Angel isn't easily offended, though. I'm guessing.
Far from it.
So you go to a doctor. How do they start this process? Is it testosterone shots or what?
Yeah, and so the thing is also, and pretty much all the doctors I went to, they never had worked with a man, a woman to a man. So I was totally a guinea pig, like pretty much a guinea pig. And so I went to a testosterone doctor who dealt with men to women, and he said, "You're going to be my guinea pig." Basically, he really said those words, and he just figured out how much testosterone to give me. And over 6 months, he showed me how to, inject myself. And then within 2 years, I was masculinized, and then I found a surgeon to cut my breasts off and give me, that male look of a chest. And again, he never worked with a guy like me either. So both my doctors, I was their first transsexual man. And then I just went from there. It just sort of like happened, I never had bottom surgery. I still have my vagina. So I decided not to go there either.
Now, this is what is wild here, because I've seen on the internet porno and stuff, and you'll see it will be like chicks with D's. You'll
right.
There's inevitably a clip like that pops up on the page.
Right.
I've never seen this though. I've never seen like a guy with a vagina. I haven't sought it out yet, but maybe after today I have to check out what this looks like. So why? First of all, is it possible for them to construct a penis? Second of all, if it is, why would you not do that? I would think that here you are, you have the facial hair, you have your breast cut off, you look, in every sense of the word, you look like a man, but you still have a vagina. I would think that for you, that would be like you'd want to get rid of that part of the body.
The death sentence. Of course, I did. I wanted to have a penis, no doubt. But the construction of the penis just wasn't good enough for me. It's definitely improved since I last looked, 15 years ago. But at this point, I just realized, what? It's not going to happen. The penis surgery was not up to what I wanted to have. I wanted to have something that functioned, something that looked nice, all the things that I want. It wasn't happening. It just wasn't going to be there for me. So, then I had to learn how to accept the fact that I have a vagina. And that was really difficult for me because, we still are taught that if you have a vagina, you're a woman. People still think of me as a woman because I have a vagina, and that's part of the education that I'm doing. It does not have anything to do with that at all. I'm totally male.
What do you put on, like, your driver's license and stuff?
Male. I'm actually, in the United States of America, I'm legally a man. I've had my birth certificate changed to male, and everything, every paperwork, everything. I couldn't walk through life as a woman. I would constantly be getting pulled over in the airport, like, wait a minute.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wait a minute here. This is something wrong with your ID, dude.
So during this time, and you said that your parents, when you were 16, they sort of got freaked out because you started turning, you hit puberty, you're growing breasts, and they were like, hey, you sort of have to be more feminine. When you're doing all this stuff and you're getting testosterone shots and you start growing a beard and you're getting the boobs cut off and all of that, what's their reaction? I mean, did you still have contact with them? Is it strained at that point? Are they like, oh my God, our daughter is a freak, or are they supportive?
No, I had actually lost contact with my parents. They just basically didn't want to deal with me anymore because I was a crackhead on the street, lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't speak to my parents for 3 years, and then when I started to get sober and start to change, I'm the one who reached out to them. And I remember specifically calling my mom one day, and I'm like, hey Mom, what's up? And she's like, who is this? And I'm like, it's me, Buck. And then she's like, oh, wow, where have you been? Blah, blah, blah. It's been 3 years, and I call from from nowhere. And then she's like, well, what's wrong with your voice? Are you sick? Because my voice started going through that change, like when you go through puberty. And then I'm like, well, I'm just calling to tell you that I called it a sex change back then. I'm having a sex change. There was total silence on the phone. Like, I thought she hung up on me. And then, and then she's like, well, if that's what makes you happy, we love you. And, that's the first time my parents or my mother had ever said she loved me.
Really?
Ever. In my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. And so it was the beginning of an amazing relationship with my parents that I have now to this day. I have an awesome relationship.
Now, you put further strain, I'm imagining, on your parents, because at some point you start doing all this porno. And I don't know when that started, but now it's tough enough. Geez, I can't imagine what these parents went through. It's tough enough to have I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you did, but it's not easy on a parent, as you can imagine. Then you put porno on top of that. I mean, what do they tell you about that?
I just have to tell you, my parents are amazing. And my parents are old. They're like, not all old, but they're in their mid-70s. They're very conservative Republican, straightforward thinking people. And I didn't really tell them about my adult work, not until later on when I really started becoming a little bit more well-known. Then I told them, I do this kind of work. And they said, well, I can't even tell you how incredibly, my parents are like, well, obviously you're doing very well for yourself, and, it seems that you're happy, and, we just don't want to see it. And I'm like, well, I actually don't want you to see it.
Yeah, right.
About that.
What in these pornos that you do, Buck? Buck Angel is on with us. He has a documentary about his life called Mr. Angel. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time, but this is fascinating. In these pornos that you put out, are you having sex with? Okay, because you live your life as a man, you look like a man, but then you have a vagina. Are guys having sex with you? Are you somehow having sex with women? I mean, what's happening in these things?
Well, actually, yeah. When I did start doing it, I invented a whole new genre, basically. So there was nobody doing what I did. So I had to sort of test the market, and I made different movies with different genders. Some with women, some with men, some only with women, some only with men. I made 3 movies like that, and the one with me and men, which is considered a gay film, even though I have a vagina, totally was the one that sold the most. So I felt my market was always gay men. They always seemed to be the most interested with a man, with a man with a vagina. That was just very hot for them. And, really,
he is actually the literal mangina,
Yeah,
I mean,
I am.
Wow. So you would say that your audience is mostly gay men that watch these pornos, probably.
Yeah. Now it's changed a lot for women. Women are becoming a big consumer of my work, for sure. And I don't really know why that all of a sudden the market kind of changed for me, but I think just because I make some people, but it's just a different thing for people. I think sexuality is so big that I just put something in front of someone's face that they never really thought about before. And then you start thinking about those things, like, wow, could I be attracted to this guy? Why am I attracted to this? It's just, it really makes people think about what that means.
Have you ever had sex with a full-on straight guy? Since you have a vagina, you look like a man, but I mean, have straight guys? You ever had sex with?
I don't know. I can't tell you. It's not like a guy walks in and says, I'm really straight and I'm going to do this to you right now. I don't know. Possibly, I'm getting lots of fan mail from straight men after Mr. Angel's been on Netflix. Tons of straight men are saying, I have a man crush on you now. And, that's fascinating to me. How could a straight man, but that's what I'm telling you. I think sexuality is so fluid that maybe you never thought about that, or it's not hot for you because you're into women, but maybe it's hot for this other guy who never thought about it before.
Right. Wow. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. Now, how long have you been doing that? How long have you been doing porno?
I've been doing it for like 11 years now. I don't do scenes anymore myself. I don't shoot in the porn myself anymore. I kind of moved back to directing and producing my own line of films with other men like myself. I do that now. So I bring other men. It's called Sexing the Trans Man. And that's a huge series that I do with other guys like me because I don't necessarily want to be doing porn in the next 20 years. I prefer to be behind the camera now.
Did you make, and do you make Can you make a good living at this? I mean, are you making tons of money producing all these pornos?
No, let's be honest here. The porn industry does not make you millions of dollars. It's a total misconception. Maybe in the 70s and the 80s, but with digital and the internet and every kind of porn site you can imagine out there, no, porn basically is not a moneymaker anymore at all. I mean, I do because I'm so rare and I'm kind of like the guy doing that, make a living, but I'd say I make more of a living off of doing public speaking and traveling the world speaking and educating. That's definitely something that's become lucrative for me.
What kind of reaction do not only, we talked about your parents, but the people, just general people that come across you or did come across you throughout this whole period and throughout your life, how did they treat you? Because I like to think of myself as I'm a pretty liberal guy. So it doesn't bother me. My feeling is, hey, to each his own. You want to, if you're a dude, you want to cut it off and turn into a woman. I don't care, whatever you want to do. But a lot of people don't think that way. So how has generally people treated you throughout this process?
Well, I'm telling you, I've been very lucky. People have, early on, not so nice because there wasn't a lot of people doing it when I did it 20 years ago. But now it's so, you see it on every TV show. People have it on Oprah, everyone. But when I did it, people freaked out in my community because my community was gay women. I considered myself a gay woman at one time. Mm-hmm. And they all freaked out on me. Like every single one of my friends just dumped me. And I didn't have friends going through my change at all. I had nobody to talk to. I had nothing. I had to do it by myself. And that's cool, though. I think it really has made me a strong person. But now, I mean, people never really said that's not, you can't do that. Everyone always thought of me as male. So it was just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense that he does that.
Have you mastered, is there a way for you to pee standing up at a urinal? Or do you
right on. Yes, I totally know how to pee standing up.
No kidding.
I completely taught myself how to do it. But here's the key. I have to pull my pants all the way down to my ankles like a 4-year-old little boy. So it's not really that cool.
Has anyone ever been in the bathroom? They look over and they go, oh, my God, what the hell is going on here?
Yes, that's why I don't do it in the urinal. I do it in the stall.
Buck Angel is on with us. His documentary is on Netflix. It's called Mr. Angel. He was born a female. He turned into a man later in life. Still has a vagina. Fascinating story. I do have to wrap it up with him in a minute, but there are a couple of people that are on the phone that want to talk to Buck. 1-866-YO-ROVER. That's 1-866-967-6837. Lynn, you're on Rover's Morning Glory. Go ahead, Lynn.
Hi, I really, good for you.
Right
you did what you had to do. I just have a question. I understand you're 51. I'm 53. I have hot flashes. I don't get my period anymore. How did that develop with you?
Yeah, good question. I actually didn't have a hysterectomy right on because a lot of doctors didn't tell me that I needed to do that, which was actually a mistake. So 20 years of testosterone usage atrophied the whole inside of my female parts, for lack of a better term. And so I had to have an emergency hysterectomy because of that. And then I felt like I was going through menopause in a weird way. So what I started to do was take a supplement called DHEA, which totally helped my hormonal balance and completely made me feel back to normal again. So I don't know if you're still going through that, but I highly suggest DHEA.
Were you ever pregnant because you were having sex with guys? So you never been pregnant in your life?
No. And I didn't start having sex with guys till later on, which my whole system shut down because of the testosterone. So I wasn't getting menstruation. I wasn't doing any of that. And that happened within probably a month or two of taking testosterone. I completely shut down and was not having my period anymore.
Now, my understanding is that Buck Angel is married to a woman. Is that correct?
No, not anymore. I got a divorce.
Why? What happened? Was it just, too weird for her or too much or what?
No, not at all. It was nothing like that. We just totally fell out of love and moved away from each other. And, that happens a lot. And also we just separated. It wasn't happening anymore. And I lived a life of horrible misery for most of my life. And I'm not going to be in a situation that's not comfortable for me. So I know how to get myself out of that.
And so in the relationship, you were basically the man, and she was, the husband, and she was the woman. And how did people treat it when they found out that she was? What kind of field was she in? What did she do for a living?
Oh, she's a body piercer, so that's her kind of profession. And so it wasn't like we were like this conservative couple of people. at all. Was always looked at like, okay, that makes total sense.
Well,
yeah, so I live my life as a man. If I have a female partner, a lot of times we present as a straight couple, which is also very weird because I'm not a straight couple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not a straight man, but people just perceive people like that, at face value constantly. People probably assume things about you maybe that aren't true because of the way you look. Right?
I'm a single, well, I'm not, I have a girlfriend now, but I've never been married. I'm 38, and I live alone with 2 cats. So everyone, dude, Rover, you're a homo.
So now you're a lesbian.
Yeah.
All right, before I let Rob, I have a question. A lot of people are sending me a text message. Our producer, Rob, who you actually kind of look alike, the two of you look alike.
Oh, please, Rob wishes.
Rob is known to be, I guess, bi-curious. He's never been with, well, he was molested when he was 5 years old. But other than that, he was never with a man. But I've seen him kiss dudes and grind on dudes and stuff, which is, something's going on. Rob, a lot of people are sending me text messages. Would you have sex with Buck Angel?
It's nothing against. He's too manly for me. I don't think I could. I know it sounds weird. I don't think I could handle it.
But so Charlie, you would make out with Charlie? Yeah, Charlie's very effeminate.
Yeah, he's almost like a girl. Charlie's one step above a girl. He's like a prepubescent girl.
But I have a penis. You'd be having. It's your choice between a real vagina or a penis.
Nothing against Buck. Again, I think Buck is a very attractive male, but there's something.
He looks just like you.
You're having sex with yourself.
I don't think I'm attractive.
Vagina.
I don't think I'm attractive. I find Charlie very attractive, so I think I would be more attracted to Charlie than I would.
Look at this
Buck.
photo. There's a side-by-side of Buck and Rob. It's like the same person.
Yeah, if Rob were taller.
If Rob, that's what you're going to look like in 20 years when you're Buck's age. That's you. That's you in the future.
Well, right now, I am just a vagina, and he has one.
Hey, Buck, all right, listen, check this. This documentary is up on Netflix now. It's called Mr. Angel. Did you make this, or did someone else make this about you?
Oh, no, yeah, a director named Dan Hunt made it. He just followed me around for 7 years. So it's his film. It's not my film, which is actually better because then it comes from a different perspective.
Right.
It's my own. So, yeah, no, he made it, and he's an awesome filmmaker. And it's amazing. That film just took off on Netflix. It's like one of the, big documentaries on Netflix now, which is hilarious.
I have to see this, I love documentaries. That's what I'm going to do when I get out of radio is make documentary films, or at least that's what I aspire to do. And so I'm curious about this. His website is buckangel.com. The movie's website is mrangelmovie.com. That's mrangelmovie.com. And like I said, the documentary is available on Netflix.
One last question.
Yes,
so
go ahead,
7 years they're filming this. Is it every day, or is it certain months or certain things that every day?
No, not every day. He would have certain events, and he'd say, okay, I'm going to come to this event. Or he came to my house in Mexico and hung out there for a week. And, I travel all over the world. So he would just, meet me someplace. Or for 7 years, we just, he would just figure out where to meet me or certain events that he wanted to film. He filmed a ton of footage. Imagine 7 years, how much footage to make into an hour and 20-minute film. Wow. It's very, so he had a lot of footage of me.
Anyone here on the show going to brave checking out a Buck Angel porno on the internet?
I've already been looking at the pictures. Yeah.
Charlie's actually doing it right now.
I came across it before, so it's nothing new to me.
No kidding, really? Yes. Wow. All right, yeah. And when he says he came across it before, that was literal.
Totally.
Buck, I appreciate you coming on. It's fascinating. Check out the documentary on Netflix, and good luck to you, my man. It's a fascinating story, and hopefully, look, if he wants to do it, makes him happy, knock yourself out. Hey, Buck, I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thank you. Buck Angel. Wow, what a story that is, huh?
I want to watch this.